What are the extent of these sanctions, of these new sanctions, in your view, and are they not ultimately caught between a rock and a hard place when it comes to the whole conundrum about the energy complex?
Indeed. I mean, the announcement today was very significant in a couple of ways. The United States and the Europeans and the UK are sanctioning the largest bank in Russia, as well as the largest privately held bank, Alpha Bank and Sberbank, respectively. That's definitely a big news. The United States is continuing on with respect to prohibiting and limiting new investment in Russia as well. They've already limited investment in new energy projects. Now it's going to be a limitation on investment in general. Of course, Europeans, as the president of the European Commission was talking about, limiting the import of coal. But you're right. At the end of the day, without the restriction on energy, the largest stick in some respects is sort of yet to be swung. And so I do think that that is a real sort of limitation with respect to the harm and the pain and the pressure that I think these sanctions are going to impose on President Putin, or frankly not going to impose.
Absolutely. But, the recent revelations about alleged war crimes in Ukraine have really changed the whole game in many ways. And President Biden suggesting that the sanctions could put the Russian economy back 15 years. Do you buy that?
Potentially, certainly on the war crimes front. I mean, the revelations just the past 24 hours, 36 hours or so, I think really did change the nature of the discussion. I think it changed the urgency with which we in the West want to sort of moved even more aggressively against President Putin. And it allowed the Europeans, I think, to start raising things that they hadn't raised before, including coal, which of course is not oil or gas, but it is an energy import from Russia. And so I do think that it has changed that sort of analysis. With respect to the broader claim of setting the Russian economy back 15 years, what have you, I certainly think that's true. It's not going to happen immediately. But as the weeks and months sort of pass by and limitations on the imports from the U.S. and the West of high technology goods sort of start to hit, I do think it's going to push the Russians back. In addition, the incredible brain drain that they have seen is going to sort of continue for the foreseeable future. And I think that is really going to sort of limit their ability to grow and to compete in the future, for sure.
Adam, what more do you see the U.S. doing to put pressure on China? Earlier this week, we saw that seizure of that mega yacht that belongs to a sanctioned oligarch. Will we see more of that, and will that work?
We've certainly seen more of that. I mean, the announcement from the Department of Justice of their first seizure, that yacht off Mallorca, I think is the first of what I think will be many. With respect to China and perhaps other jurisdictions that may well provide a conduit in a way, or at least some sort of lifeline for President Putin, I think we're going to start seeing secondary sanctions. This was the strategy used in the Iran context, whereby sanctions were threatened on parties that were basically providing a lifeline to Iran. A similar model could be done here. And I do think that that our Congress, the United States, may well be compelling the president to do just that. So threatening sanctions on Chinese entities or other entities, other jurisdictions that may want to continue to trade with Russia.
Do you see the U.S. Congress increasingly playing a bigger role in this?
Without a doubt. There are well over a dozen pieces of legislation that are sort of being mooted on both the House side and the Senate side. Historically, we know, again, from the Iran context, that Congress very often played a very important role as a policymaker and pushing the envelope, sometimes in ways that the executive, the president, may not want to. But certainly already we've seen the limitation on U.S. oil imports from Russia. That came about because Congress was about to pass a law that would have compelled President Biden to do just that. So President Biden took the wind out of the sails of Congress and did it himself. It's a very common process whereby Congress pushes, and just before they pass a law, or maybe they do pass a law, the executive decides to do the thing that Congress wants them to do, but can do it in their own time and with their own sort of discretion. So I do think that's going to be a piece of this. I speak with people on the Capitol Hill a lot who are talking about different strategies for imposing restrictions on perhaps things to do with blocked assets, to potentially blocked assets from Russia to help repay sort of Ukrainian rebuilding or help support Ukrainian refugees. There's a lot of congressional action here, a lot of creativity that may push the executive very quickly.